Hey, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Women's Coffee Club. We created this club to provide a safe space for women to share and inspire each other and to learn from a different host each week. And this morning, we're so fortunate to have this beautiful Cody who will be presenting for us um, about the being the whole person. So, Cody, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about your background and then go ahead and take it from there.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, I'm an only child. I live up in upstate New York, and I had always loved animals my whole life. And so when I first got out of college, I had done photography, and then photography became this kind of like flooded industry. So I started doing pet sitting. And the interesting Oh, I think Anshay's there you go. The interesting thing about pet sitting was that it just kept growing and growing and growing. It was before it was a thing. And so then I built it up. I ended up having a huge building after like 5 years. I opened it up called Cody's Cozy Pals. And then for 15 years, I owned and operated a doggy daycare boarding facility and training center for animals. So for 15 years, I built up my reputation in the community. I was one of the top people that, people sought after. I was in the top of my game. Everything was going great. And I was like, not happy. I finally had the time where people were like, yeah, go to Cody. Like, she's amazing. And they stopped looking at me like I was like a 12-year-old owning a business and more like a wise woman who had some experience. And I was like, yeah, but I'm just not happy anymore. I really want to do something different. But I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to do something. And through a series of events and a little duck who sent me a message, because, there's little animals all over the world who show up at different times and they have little messages for us. And, I'm sitting on a rock and this little duck swam by and I was like, oh man, I got to sell my business. Now, what a duck butt and selling my business have to do, I don't really know, but I went for it. I sold my business. I went to a thing called Dream Builder Live event and I saw this woman speaking on stage and I'm like, oh, she's me. I'm her. That's what I got to do. So that kind of led me into the coaching, the speaking, and all of those things. And my spiritual journey on the backside was brought to me through wanting to try to help my then fiance heal. He had anxiety, he had depression, he had all these things. And he was like, they'll never be better. And I'm like, if we haven't been to a shaman in a jungle, like we haven't tried everything. So you can't really say that. That's actually not true. So off I went to guinea pig myself with all of these different healing modalities. And what ended up happening is I healed myself. I actually didn't know that I needed healing. I had a pretty good life. Everything was really great. And I did not know that there was anything that I should have looked for to be a marker for me to heal. So this brought on a lot of cool things to bring into this space of coaching and wellness and then my own personal journey. And I was able to put those all together. And with this heightened awareness that I have to life, just even as a child, and then tuning it in, I was able to see that I was playing different roles at different times. And I was actually afraid to be the real me that I knew I was. And so when I was with my doggy daycare business, I was always playing this very stable female role. I was trying to be as serious with my clients as possible most of the time, unless I was super close to them, because I didn't think people would take me seriously because I looked young. I'm going to be 41. I look like I'm 30. This is awesome. I'm happy about it. Polish skin. Thank you, Dad. However, when I was 20 and 21 and 22 owning a business, it was not super helpful. So I did stuff like cut my hair super short and tried to have the more mature look and face. So I cut my hair. I cut my hair because I wanted to look apart. I'm like the things we do to ourselves when we think we need to fit into a space. We should look a certain way. We should dress a certain way. We should act a certain way. But I've always had this like real big goofy side. And I love being goofy, and it's fun and it's playful. And I just want to get out there and be like, I'm going to go play in life. And the thing is then I'd be like, well, if you play, they won't take you seriously, and then you won't make money, and then your business will flop. And so I started repressing the play side of myself, which is the best side of myself. It's the one that brings me the most joy. And then I started coming into the spiritual space, and I was like, oh, well, if you're spiritual, we got to be calm, and we have to be grounded, and we have to be wise, and we have to be these things if people are going to take you seriously as someone who can help them heal. And so then I tried to fit into a space where I was very wise and only speak sometimes. And I grew my listening skills, which those are good, by the way. But I started to be this other version of myself. So when I started to notice, what I was noticing about myself was that I was still putting on different character roles for different things that I wanted to try in life. And I still wasn't being and fully embodying me. And I was like, well, how do I become all of the things and it be okay? And it took a little minute, but it started with releasing my self-judgment. I was like, well, if you're this, then you can't be that. Says who? And then if you're that, you can't be this. Why? Well, if you're wise, you can't be funny. Oh, that is just that's a crock of poop. It's a crock of poop. You can be funny and you can be wise. And in fact, I've started to notice even some of the most wise people that I have met, they're off their rocker and they say some outlandish stuff for you to have that emotional moment that you can click in something that helps you learn and grow. And you're like, what did they just say? And I'm like, well, if that 80-year-old wise person can be that kind of crazy and ridiculous and get those results and have these kind of people listening and they're helping these people grow, then why do I have to wait till I'm 80 to have an excuse to be this way? I don't. I can actually be both of those things right now, in my 40s, in my 30s, whenever it is that you're in, what phase of life you're in. I used to watch my great uncle, Uncle Tom, and as he got older, he got more and more saucy. He'd go to the different appointments, doctor's appointments, and he would, like, not that this was appropriate at all, but he'd be like, pinch the little nurses' booties and, you know, and stuff like that. And I'm like, Uncle Tom, and he's like, what does it matter? And I'm like, wow, like, he's really just kind of, I mean, you're talking towards the end of his life, you know, and he just was like, all caution to the wind. He's like, ah. And I was like, huh. I'm like, so when everybody gets to this certain part of an age, they feel it's okay to just say, I don't care what other people think. I'm going to be me, because what the hell? I only got so much time left. Now, imagine if we took that and we did it earlier, how much more enjoyable it would be, minus, you know, obviously the part where he was assaulting people without their permission. You know, I don't think we should do that. But the idea and the concept behind having to get to a certain age to be able to be our full selves is not true. We get to be that right now. And so I really started to practice this. And it was such an interesting thing to start to observe. So when you take this new suit, and it's a whole suit, it's not, who do I choose to be today? Which mask am I going to put on? Which character am I going to play? It's, how am I going to 100% show up as me today? And I know that in any given moment, be it an hour or 5 minutes, I can range from wise to funny, to business, to growth, to learning, to being a student, to being a teacher, because I am all of those things all at once. Each and every one of us are all of those things all at once. And you just have to start to give yourself a little bit more permission each day and have a conversation with each one of those parts of thyself for it to come into its wholeness and be expressed in the world. And I kept being like, wow, it was like a whole new level of freedom. How did I do this? I was like, this is fantastic. And so one of the really funny examples I have is I was a keynote speaker at a thing called the Girlfriends Getaway Weekend in up towards Sagamore. It's kind of near really Lake George area in New York here. And Friday night, they have an opening where you can go and you can meet the people, and they have some demonstrations. And I was like, oh, this is great. And then they have like a dance party, and I love dancing. And they have food and all this stuff. And of course, I was the first one on the dance floor. Because guess what? I don't care. I don't drink. I don't anything. I don't have to wait for it. I'm just like, woohoo, music, let's go. Let's move the body. And I get on and I start dancing, and people are watching, and I can feel it. I can feel their longing to come on this dance floor with me. I can feel their judgment of the people who are like, oh, she's that one, huh? Okay. All of those things, I can feel it. But the thing is I didn't care. I was like, that's okay. That's okay, because they're having their experience that's giving them something. Well, then some crazy stuff happened. They put on a song from like the early 90s, and I was born in 82. And I have never, even when I was drunk in my 20s, I did never humped the floor. I never danced and humped the floor. That was never one of my moves, ever. Universe, God, creator started piping through me, and all of a sudden I'm doing like the leg on the floor and the thing, and I'm like, oh my God, like, what am I doing right now? I am going to be speaking in front of all of these women. There's like 100-something women, and you're humping the floor, and you're the keynote speaker. Oh, what? That was like terrifying. And I wasn't doing it in like a raunchy way. I was just kind of doing it in a fun way. I was like, yeah. And again, I didn't even know where the move came from. And then I felt more judgment. I'm like, okay. And so I understood what this was that was coming through me. It was a chance for me to, one, get uncomfortable, and then see how I was still able to be me through that. Two, move through my fear of the fact that tomorrow when I speak in front of these people, are they going to take me seriously or not? And I did none of this consciously. This was my subconscious and my higher self working through me to create something for me. And I was like, well, holy Hannah, we are on fire. Okay. So I ended up rolling down a hill that night. It was a beautiful hill, very perfectly groomed. The grass was super soft. I was letting my inner child out. I was like, okay, great. And I go to talk the next day, and I stood up in the morning to get out of bed to drive to this place, and I almost face planted. I had vertigo. For most of the day. And I'm like, oh, all right, like energies are really playing with me today. Like, this is good. Okay. And I was trying to play with it and work with it. And I got there, and I was able to get up on stage after a bunch of help and a couple grounding rocks and some other things, and some Reiki and some tincture this other really cool shaman lady had. And I'm like, oh, thank goodness for a tribe. And so I stand up on stage and I asked the people, I said, how many of you saw me yesterday dancing? And all their hands went up. They're like, yeah, we saw you dancing. I was like, okay, awesome. And then I said, now, it's not going to hurt my feelings, and you will not offend me. And I would love if you could be honest and truthful. How many of you judged me? And one brave lady raised her hand. And I was like, thank you. Thank you for that. And then we got to have a whole conversation about where that judgment came from. Now, my dance move didn't hurt anybody. It didn't hurt me. It didn't change who I was. It didn't change all of the knowledge and experiences I had. But it did change how someone may perceive me. Now, whose problem is that? Certainly not mine, is it? No, it's theirs. So they're either going to miss out on something, or they're going to be able to come into something. So I said, okay, so let's talk about this judgment and where it comes from. I said, would it be safe to say that you were uncomfortable? And the woman said, yeah, I was definitely uncomfortable. I said, yeah, well, judgment usually comes from when we don't understand something, and when we're uncomfortable. Then we're like, oh gosh, that's, like people on the beach in banana hammocks. Like, not a lot of us really understand it, and might make some of us a little uncomfortable. Maybe we weren't ready to see butt cheeks that day. I don't know. But so whatever that is, it kind of makes us go, ugh. But but they're being their full selves. Isn't that freaking great? They're comfortable. Hooray. Let me celebrate you. And so this was this very interesting space that came in for me to speak in front of 100 women about releasing the judgment of self and of others to create the space for celebration of wholeness. I was being my whole self that day. And if you didn't know me, you'd be like, ew, why is she humping the floor? Possibly. Or you could have been like, yeah, girl, get it. Woo. And if you did know me, you might be like, she's never done that before. I wonder what that's all about. And then have a conversation. So we have all these different ways that we show up. And the most magical thing to me, and the best reflection of that experience of being the whole self, was when I was on stage and I was looking at the people. It was the first time that I had a keynote speech where it wasn't planned. I went off cuff, which I usually do. But the difference is I wasn't really being super funny. Usually I have a whole aspect where people are laughing and I make jokes about things to create this connection. And I wasn't doing that. And so people weren't laughing. And my little girl inside went, oh no, they don't like us. And then my other side, that's now better trained than my little girl who gets scared about some things, says, oh, no, look. Every single one of the people in that room had eyes on me. They were completely focused. I had their full attention. And I had been my full me. I had been the silly, ridiculous person dancing and making humping moves. I had been the wise woman. I had been the good, listener. I had been all of those things. And I showed up, even though I had done that, thinking maybe these people won't take me seriously. And they were listening. They were listening and they were like, oh, wow, like she's got some stuff there. Ooh. And my whole insides just wanted to cry in celebration because I was just being me. And it was finally fully, completely safe. And I had the feedback in the space that said, yeah, it was. Good job being you. And see, it's okay if you dance weird. They're still going to listen. And it's okay if you be silly. And it's okay if you want to be the wise woman who's helping somebody work through something. And that's okay. And it was the most magical day to see that. And so many people came up afterward and they were like, Cody, man, you are a good speaker. Thank you so much. So many ahas. I'm going to go into my day in a different way. And I was like, being me worked. This is great. And it felt so freeing. I finally really felt like, well, no matter where I show up, as long as I'm showing up as me, it's working. Because I wasn't pretending to be anything. I wasn't uncomfortable. I wasn't scared. I was really just like, oh, this is how this feels. And it's okay. I can let the other people have the feeling and I can help them through that feeling. And then in that, they then get to see all parts of me and how that works so that they can start to do that for themselves. And so you're left with this moment where you're like, how am I going to be more me today? How am I going to be more me today? What me do I allow to come out to play more often than the one I'd love to let out? And why haven't I let this other one out? What am I maybe afraid of? What am I reluctant for people to see about me? But what do you really want them to see? Because they're only going to see what you put out. So if you want them to see your wholeness, the beauty of the essence of everything that you were created for, to be, to do, how do we do that? We let them see all the parts of us. We get vulnerable as shit. We're like, whoa, here's all my insides laying out on the table. What do you like? And they go, I actually don't like any of it. You're like, all right, cool, next. And that person's like, well, I like this and this, but this is kind of like, I'm like, all right, well, you work on that. We can still be friends. Or I like the whole package because it's a mirror to me being able to be my whole package. I'm like, all right, let's go. So we have these different ways that we can show up. But as long as we're showing up as our whole 100%, my gosh, people want a piece of that. They want a piece of what it is to be whole. They don't want to just know the person that could take care of their dog. They don't want to just know the person that can only be funny on weekends. Who are you? Who are you, really? Because you just have to have a conversation with that little girl, with that part that says, it's okay to come out. I got this. I got us. I know maybe in the past you were told not to do any of those things, but you can trust me when I feel it's safe to do those things, and we can come out and present ourselves in the world together, whole. And what a feeling that is. And if I could jump inside all of you just for a moment so that you could feel the wholeness that I feel, if you're not feeling it within yourself, I would share that feeling with you. But the best gift that I can give is that if there is a moment that you can recall feeling completely and utterly vulnerable and yourself and whole, where you were not afraid, where you were like, wow, in that moment, even if it was just 2 minutes or 30 seconds, and you recall a moment where you felt the most powerful version of yourself, start there. Start with that feeling. Start with that part of you that says, yes, that is me. There I am. Let's keep going. Let's keep growing. You got this. Follow that. That is the most trusted voice within you that will continue to help you grow in your wholeness. And there is just no better feeling. And then you can be out there humping the floor and being judged, and you're not going to care either. Or don't hump the floor. That's okay. It's totally optional. But the concept there is, of course, doing something maybe that you would always like, oh, I kind of want to do that, but like, whatever that is. Maybe it's not that, but whatever that is for you, you get to do it and go for it. So, and the other tiny little thing I'll say just briefly is this morning I thought I was going to be late. So a bird flew into my car, a little sparrow, and I was like, oh, he didn't even give me time to swerve. And I was very upset. And I looked in my rearview mirror to confirm that he had passed, and he hadn't. And he was kind of doing this flutter thing. And I was like, oh my gosh, my insides feel really bad. And I'm looking at the clock and I'm looking at the bird. And then his little friend flies into the road. And I'm like, oh, and it's a little bird friend's checking on him. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay. So I turn around and I pick up the bird, and I think he might have a broken leg, but I pick him up and I put him in a little tissue paper in a gift bag that I had in my car. And I brought him with me. So he's outside in the thing, kind of recovering right now. And I had this whole idea of how I wanted to show up for you guys today. I was like, oh, I had a dog walk, and then I had this. This is my dog walking sweater. I have dog treats in my pocket. They smell. And I didn't put deodorant on, and I didn't have the earrings that I wanted on, and I wasn't able to change my shirt. And I was like, oh man, I'm not able to show up how I wanted to show up. I was like, oh, sneaky. That's that little part. That's that little part of me that felt that I needed to show up anything other than me. Again, I wanted to have certain clothes on. I wanted to have a certain look. I wanted to present myself. And I was like, oh, so it still happens. That program will still kind of try to sneak in the tiniest of little things. Let me make you late with a bird so that you can't show up the way you wanted to. And then you get to look at yourself and be like, this isn't what I wanted to wear. Does it matter? Does it matter what I'm wearing right now? Is the content that coming out of my mouth, would it have changed with my outfit? Nope. Would any of you have been like, oh my God, she's wearing a dog covered hoodie, I gotta go? Nope, can't even see the dog hair. She doesn't have makeup on. Did she brush her hair today? I don't know. Maybe it's windblown. But would any of those things have turned you away from listening to the message that came out? Would the message have changed? Would my personality have changed? No, none of that. None of that happened. I can tell you it didn't. I'm still the same me. I'm just a little worse for the wear in the clothing department at the moment. But none of that changed. And so this was such an interesting in the moment way. And this is why I said to Rini, I said, I had the perfect thing happen to me this morning that goes right into this, speaking into wholeness. Wholeness is showing up 100% as you, real you, real now, real today, real this just happened, real there is a bird in a gift bag outside waiting for me. And I still got here on time, and I'm still able to show up authentically for my morals and my values as well for the bird. There was no way that the pull that I had intuitively to stop for the bird, that my changing my outfit was going to outweigh the fact that I wanted to at least try to help. And even if it wasn't going to make it, I can pray over it. I can bury it. I can give it whatever it needs for the reason that we bumped into each other. And so there was nothing that was going to be more important than that. Not even my ability to show up in a different outfit for a talk, because that is also me. And I have to honor that part of me too, which wants to help and serve and show up 100%. So I showed up 100% as I could for the bird and 100% as I could for you all this morning. And so that's my little bird story. And what a teachable, crazy moment. So that's it. That's the wholeness. That's being you. That's the realness of it. And, if any of you have any questions or you have any, insights or little things you want to share, I'm here to listen. And so great to be here with all of you this morning.
Thank you so much, Cody. That was such an amazing topic, though. How many people, we all want to be approved. I know all my life, I always looking for approval to make sure I'm doing the right thing. I was IT director for a very long time at San Diego State University. A lot of them, it's male. It's a male-dominated industry, IT at the time. Anyway, I wanted to show up to show that I'm capable, I'm trustworthy, I have the knowledge, the technical knowledge, all of these stuff, and so we show up almost like, oh, what do they think of me? Do they approve me? Am I okay? Did I do okay? And I think this is I just love the topic because it's really hard sometimes to be yourself, to be authentic, because you want other people to like you, or you want other people to approve you and that you're okay. So thank you for that. Val, I see your hands up.
I just want to wow you, Cody, in the wholeness of it all, because this whole presentation had to be shifted because of that last moment encounter with the bird. And then to be able to talk for this amount of time with something that just threw maybe away the way you wanted to present, and not only physically with the clothes, but the content as well. So you're a true speaker, and it was a delight to listen to you and your story.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Val. Yeah, and we can't tell that you're wearing this whatever coat you're talking about. You look beautiful.
Hooray! So, yeah, my armpits. Oh my God, it's like I didn't.
And we can't smell anything.
Like, yeah, good thing we don't have smell-o-vision yet. Oh my.
So that's awesome. Angie.
I think one of the best things about Zoom is that you don't see dog hair, no shoes, pajama bottoms. Okay. And I'm so grateful that I don't smell doggy treats that I've been in the anyway. But Cody, thank you for this, because this is again divine timing, and I have a confession to make, because when I first met you, was it now 2 years or something like that, I judged you. I judged you. And you know why? Because I wasn't in a space where at that stage, I didn't allow myself to be unapologetically me. All right. And always when we judge somebody, it's an opportunity to work on our own self. And you know what the beautiful thing is about synchronicity? I got severely criticized this morning, because for me it's afternoon, severely criticized because I did something which is unapologetically me. Okay. And the other people thought, this is not about you. I thought, what? You know, it's just like, it's exactly that. So I had to take a deep breath in and say, not my issue.
Yeah.
And I can't tell the people that it's not my issue. In fact, I said, you've got the issue, not me. You know, kind of, I said it a little bit shorter.
Of
So
course.
it was quite interesting, actually. So thank you for that reminder. And it will make it so much easier to just let it go, because we are also in the summer solstice.
Yes.
So it's a lot of shifting, a lot of letting go.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love that, because yeah, I was guilty of judging because of my own issue. And fact is, we all here have so much more in common that separates us, which is beautiful. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. And cheers to you for being brave enough to say that you had judgment and to work through it and to show up differently. And, you know, and so I honor you and love you for that. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Angie. And Sandra, you're next.
Thank you. Get my coffee anyway. I love it that you're so young and I'm so old. And and it took me a long time to get here, but I'm glad you're there earlier. Although I've been myself probably for the last 20 years, there is such a joy in it. That said, I think as we go deeper and are aware, I'm the compassionate queen of straight talk. Thank goodness for the compassion, because I got a mouth that goes. And so I have to be careful with that. So yes, it might be their issue, but we also have to look at our own responsible area, because it could be that I'm just coming on too much of a tsunami. And so I'm not in this world just to tsunami everybody. And so until people give me a timeout or take a moment, until I am aware of how I'm affecting other people as well. So I think there's really critical. So many people, as they first start expressing themselves, say, well, this is me, so suck it up, buttercup. Yeah, well, that's okay. But it's only okay for so long, because people aren't going to want to be around you if you're just being a suck it up, this is me, because that's not really being me.
No.
So I'm really happy that you've opened this whole thing up. And I hope that you also show people how to not put the brakes on being themselves, but to also be in balance with what are we doing to other people, because maybe it is our circus that's going on that, well, it's too bad. I've just discovered I'm me, and you can like it or lump it. And I think that's the challenge. So yeah, two sides. And I really like that you brought this to the table today. And
there
I
is, and
jumping off maybe in 10 minutes or so, but it won't be for what you said.
I love
I
it.
don't know what humping the floor is. I know what humping
Okay.
is, but I'm not sure
can-
what humping the floor is, because I think
I
we
can
were
show you the
sitting on
move later.
Thank
No,
you.
Love that.
and I love it. And to your point, there is a compassion that comes, and that actually comes with the wise part of the person and the discernment of, yes, it is their issue. And then how can we support them through that so that we're not just big giant assholes, you know, because you don't want to be that, which is how I kind of approached it on stage, which was gentle and just showing them there's a different way. And so, yes, it is about being your authentic self, but it's not in a way that is spiteful. You don't have to overcompensate for you never having been the real you and then be like, yeah, well, this is me. And so, No, it's I am really me. And then the really, the one that you were speaking of is, yes, that deeper, it's with love. Everything is with love, this depth of love to be the real you. So yes, there are phases for sure. So I'm glad that you pointed that out so that that could be really honed in here today, and for everybody watching this on the replay, that you can discern those times for yourselves as well. So thank you for bringing that to the table.
Thank you, Sandra. And yeah, absolutely. You don't want to be obnoxious or anything like that.
Oh.
But anyway, Darla, I see your hands up.
Hey, Cody, I'm so glad I got to make it. I was a little late, so I completely understand. But what I wanted to say is what you really are opening up for people is the fact that, it's okay to remove your mask. Be 100% authentic, standing in your truth and being who you are. While you were speaking, it made me think of some of the stuff that I do teach every day, because this is part of what I teach. But what I wanted to share was just one of the affirmations. And the affirmation is, I am free to be the me I want to be. Because how many times do we act out and have our own issues and then go back and judge ourselves about the fact that we didn't do it the way that we wanted to do it? So we have to give ourselves permission. And that was what I wanted to point out. What Cody was talking about is we have to get to the place that we give ourselves permission to be who we are. And then that's where that power and that energy begins to generate. And it allows us to really show up for ourselves. And I just really thought it was beautiful, Cody, because that's what you were bringing today, and giving everyone in this group, in this space, and anyone who hears it, the permission to be me. So thank you. It was beautiful, Cody.
Wow, my pleasure. Thanks for being here with us. Oh, Rini, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry about that. I said that's awesome, Darla. But I said I was gonna confess, Cody, there was one part when you talk about the smell part. I said, no, not that one.
It's okay. I got my deodorant right here.
Just kidding.
Just in case I can't stand up to my self smell.
Isn't that funny? So sorry.
But
Julie, you're next.
Again, I came on a bit late. Sorry, Cody. So I missed the first part of all your stuff, but it's so timing. This women's club seems to time in on everything somehow collectively that we need to hear, and we need to be there to receive and to share. Because I had an experience too this week. I've had a job for a while looking after a little 5-year-old who's obviously on some spectrum, if we like to label. And so for the last 2 months, I've been, shadowing him 1-to-1 in a class, and he's really, really, really off the wall, shall we say, completely, and he's at the wrong school. So I'm just shadowing him and sort of working with the parents, how I thought, to get him into a new school that's going to be more suitable for him, because he's actually not doing anything. And he came into school on Monday. They sent him in and he was sick, and he just was absolutely off the wall. So we had to send him home early. And later in the afternoon, she rang, she said, this is the last we want to see of you. We're pulling both children out of the school because we don't think it's a safe environment for them anymore. And I'm thinking, my God, I've been turning over backwards trying to get through to him. And not only that, I've actually helped find a place for him at a much better school. And she wrote and said she didn't want me, she didn't want anything from this school going to the new school, so she's just in total denial. That she said, we have a different boy than what you're seeing, and the sadness I felt, because we had a wonderful relationship with this kid. He was having fun lots of the times, and she's just ripped us, and I couldn't even go back and get the rest of my things because, I can only go in the days that I'm shadowing him. And my reaction to it was, heartbreak, actually, to start with. It was interesting because I didn't know where to put myself, and because it was the sadness of
one of the boy being just left high and dry when he'd already had a safe relationship with me, and two, that she'd been so cold and hard, you know, after you put all this effort in. So I did have a little bit of a pity party for a wee while there, you know, and thinking, well, what do I do, you know? And so I haven't done a lot. And then this letter came, so please do not be in touch, because I had an interview with the school that he's going to, maybe. And she said, I don't want you sharing anything about this, and I don't give any permission about anything about him, you know. So of course I was having this interview and went and had the interview anyway. And we didn't talk about him, we just talked about people like him, you know. So at the end of the day, that's all I've done so far. But it's just interesting because I've had to sit on it for a few days, you know. And I've got back to it, and I still don't know how to finish it off, and maybe it is finished, you know. But I had some little things to give him, you know, that I'd found for him that soothed him. And, you know, that the poor woman has no idea that he has actually some serious things. And it just brought to me attention the sad of how little people know about these developmental delays and things with children, and how they, you know, they get labelled so quickly. And, you know, there's such a lot of work to do. You know, what it makes me think, oh my God, I need to put some things together for schools, you know, because the ignorance at the school he was at was very really obvious too, as to his condition. So, but yeah, thank you for that. And I, you know, the same stuff. I thought, no, this is not me. This is not my issue. It's not my issue at all. So don't make it. But I could see myself being incredibly affected emotionally, you know, and I had to sort of bring myself back up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. And thank you for sharing with us. And I think it speaks into, you know, the part of you that you did show up 100% yourself for him. And if you stand in that, because you know that in your heart that you did, you bent over backwards, you did these things, and you stand in that, that is your truth. That is your magic. And that's what you get to take away from it. You know, when
the magic was actually having the time with them. Yeah, the magic was having that time with them, because I learned a huge amount too, you know.
Yeah.
And all the teachers are, and the school, and the opportunity of being back in the school with the teachers around again, and they really appreciated it, you know, and could see the stuff. So that was the gift, and the gift was actually having the experience with the young man, you know. Yeah,
he's lucky to have you. So
Yeah,
cheers
thank you,
for
Julie.
showing up.
Thank you, and be kind to yourself too. We sometimes
oh
do
yeah,
our
I
own
thought no.
judgment.
Oh, I got really angry. I was going to be really nice. I wanted to get a bit spiteful for a bit there, but it passed, fortunately.
Yeah, thank you for that, Julie.
Awesome.
Kathleen, thank you for staying even when you're driving.
That was perfect timing because I just got to a stop sign and I could unmute.
Oh, good.
I really love this topic, and I listen to every morning. It's called the Call to Calm, Nash Desai. And so his message usually is, and was particularly this morning, just be who you are unapologetically. That's how the universe made you. The universe, you know, has the greatest intelligence and created you exactly as you are. We don't need to change ourselves. We don't need to be anybody else. We don't need to fix us. And the more that we realize this, and we do tend to come into this, evolve into this a bit more naturally as we age. But I'm seeing now a lot of younger people are, you know, ascribing to this, be who you are. And we are attracted to people who are genuinely themselves because they have confidence to be who they are. And humans are automatically drawn to people who have charisma, people who have confidence. And if you don't know who you are. And that's the first step, is finding out who you are. Because we're so programmed almost from birth to be a certain way, according to, the family we were born in, the society we were born in, the religion we were born into, all have rules and regulations. And so most of us spend much of our lives being aliens or not authentically ourselves. And it's taken me till I'm 61 years old now to figure that out. I'm just now figuring it out. Who am I? And I loved, Cody, that you said that you can be all these things. You don't have to be, always wise. You don't have to always be silly, because I am, and I always felt like I had multiple personality disorder, or I was just a fraud, because I will be a certain way with a certain group of people and another way with another group of people. And I think maybe that's not being a fraud or a phony. I think it's just people's energy bring out certain things in us, so we can be a little more, I guess, ourselves with certain people. But I don't know, I still feel guarded around certain people and worried that they're going to judge me. And that includes my children. I always try to be a bit more restrained and pulled back with my kids, because I don't know, they think I'm weird enough already. So, yeah, I really do. I loved this talk, and I love this topic, and it's just so important for us to truly accept ourselves and be all of what we are, and accept all those components of ourselves. So that really was the aha moment for me, because I always have felt like a bit of a alien. But now I think maybe I'm not just a chameleon. I am all these things. So that was wonderful. Thanks.
Oh,
Thank
I'm
you.
so glad that you got to join us and for the feedback. And to speak into the moments where you're saying that you still kind of hold back around your kids. It's interesting, because I remember my mom kind of being very much herself, and then as she's gotten older, she's less that way. She's more reserved now than she was. And I'm the one, kind of sharing that. And I think, being someone's kid and in that reflection of that space, like, I would love for my mom to be more her, because it gives me more permission to be more me. So even though that space might feel a little scary, eventually that's going to be something that they, love and adore and learn from. So, however you can continue to lean into being more you every day that you have been, will serve that space really well. So, give yourself some kudos.
Yes, thank you so much, Kathleen. I think it's very easy to want to fit in, and we all do that at some point. But anyway, Tamara, I see your hands up.
Kathleen, I love that you spoke about that, because it kind of reminded me of all of this just resonated with me today, because I've been going through the same thing. Like, okay, so if I do this and it pissed that person off, then what can I do differently so that it doesn't, and then I'm listening to you today. I'm like, well, obviously it's not my problem. Like, I'm just being me. Right. And when my kids were growing up, I was always me with them, and we went through a period where they were mad at me all the time, Kathleen. Like, I totally resonate with that too. And I'm like, okay, so do I need to be somebody else so that they feel more comfortable, put on this mask? And then, and I've been doing this work for a while, and I'm like, no, I need to be who I am so they can be who they are. And it's funny, because my youngest daughter has been so mad at me lately, and I don't even know why. I don't think she knows why. she's just in a bad space, you know, and she's blaming mom because it's the easiest thing to do, you know. She knows I'm going to love her no matter what. And yesterday, and I might cry, but yesterday she sends her sister. My oldest daughter is definitely like me, very outgoing, loving, caring. It's her unapologetically. And my youngest daughter sent her a post that says, "Thank you for being unapologetically yourself." And I was like, oh gosh, that's so great, because she had been so angry at her too. And then she sent me a text reminding me, because when they were kids, we would have these screaming contests, because it's fun, right? So we'd be in the car, we'd be in the house. Okay, let's have a screaming contest. And so we would scream at the top of our lungs as loud as we can, and just do it as long as we can. And she remembered that yesterday. And she sent me a text and said, "Thank you for making things fun." She goes, "I think you had more to scream about than we did, but you made it fun." That was me being me. And it helped bring a good memory from her. And she's 30 now, you know. We all go through the stage of trying to find ourselves and fit in and all that stuff. And I think she's coming out of that stage right now, because even 5 years ago, she said, "You told me that I could be anything I wanted when I was growing up, and I can't. I have to do this and this and this." And this is societal stuff, right? And I'm like, and then I thought to myself, how I did something wrong, because she's not being her. She's doing what society wants her to do. But it's a growth. We all have that growth where we're going to be influenced by all of these outer forces. And it's up to us to decide which ones that we let affect us. And if we want it to affect us, then we can. But that's being us. We get to choose. I love this conversation. So, you know, with her being so angry with me for such a long time, and then this coming up today, and that came up yesterday, I'm like, oh my God, you were right, Julie. It always comes like right when you need it. So I thank you for being you and being brave enough to hump the floor, stop and pick up the bird. Like, I love birds, and we have like bird nests everywhere, and I do that too. I'll pick them up, and I don't care if I'm going to be late, because that's who I am. I'm going to be the one that cares for the animal. And I used to not do that. I used to be like really scared to stop. Oh my gosh, I'm going to be late, and they're going to think really, really bad of me, you know. And just being mindful of that feeling and those thoughts when they come up, and then shifting them, you know. This is who I am, and you know, either they can like it or not. And it may sound harsh, but I'm not hurting anybody.
I love
So
that.
thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And my pleasure. And to the point of the, oh, you know, the parent part, again, is such a beautiful space, because I came to a part where I love my parents' imperfections, because their imperfections are where I made my most growth. Because even if it was something that I didn't want to be that way, they were teaching me even in that. So they had the good stuff. Oh, I like that part. I want to keep those parts. And then, oh, these are the things that I'm like my parents that I don't want to be like my parents. And so everything that my parents had done or not done was perfect. And it is in the case of every parent. And the children will get there. And we do get there, you know.
Yeah, I agree.
So well done. So well done.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you for that, Tamara. We're getting close to the top of the hour, but I'd like to give everyone a chance to say something, but we'll just have to cut it a little bit shorter here. So Lori, you're next.
You're on mute, Lori.
You need to unmute, Lori. Let's see.
Also, guys, just quick while Lori
Hi.
finds her mute button, the bird flew. The bird made it out of the bag. My mom just texted me. The bird made it out of the bag and flew off. Woohoo!
That's awesome. Go ahead, Lori.
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thanks. I just have to start work in a second. So I just wanted to say thank you for your talk this morning, Cody. It was amazing. And it's definitely, as everybody else has attested to, it's definitely something that I think that we needed to listen to. So when I grew up, I was told what to wear, what to say, when to do it, how to do it. I was in a very disciplined environment. And I was never really allowed to be myself, except for when my dad told me it was okay for me to be myself. And those are probably my most cherished childhood memories. So moving fast forward, career-wise, a number of years ago, I accepted a district manager position. And my leader above me was the same way as my dad was, very controlling, very, she wanted to tell me how to wear my hair, how to wear my makeup, what to say, how to give my speeches, how to do this. And I rebelled against it. And because I was older and I had learned, but what really helped to sort me out, interestingly enough, was Green Builder Live. And that was probably my first exposure to being able to turn things around and really truly become my authentic self. So I ended up leaving the company for a short period of time. She ended up actually getting terminated because of her behavior. And it was the first leader that I'd ever had in my company that was a poor leader. But I'm so thankful for her, because if she hadn't have done the things that she had said and done, I wouldn't be in the place that I am now. So you just really brought all of that stuff right back to me. And I celebrate you. Thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thank
And I'm
you.
glad
Thank
that
you,
can have
Lori.
that moment. Woo!
Yes, thank you. Sue, you're next.
Oh, hello. Thank you, Cody, so much. I really enjoy that, and I love that pink glow behind you. It just makes me happy. Totally irrelevant point, but I'm a visual person, so I love how you glow with the pink glowing behind you. It's just a really cool effect. So don't change your background. It's awesome. It seems very authentic.
It's real. They're real. It's my real plants. It's their grow light.
Nice. I love it. Yeah, it's just timely always to hear this conversation. I love that you figured it out young. So many women figure it out older. So kudos to you for that. I think authenticity is all we have. Like you got to lead with that, because otherwise, what's the point? Why go through life with being someone else? There's just to me, it's pointless. So I'm a huge fan of authenticity. I love that was your topic, and I love how you just quickly shifted despite all the craziness of your morning. And I'm so excited about the bird. I'm just like, yay, the bird made it. So thank you so much for your talk. I know we're out of time, so I will stop there.
My pleasure. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sue. Omeka.
Yeah, I realized it. Sorry about the unmuting. Yeah, that was great. The story, you were probably trying to do the worm. That's the dance that you get on the floor and like kind of worm yourself across the floor.
One
But
of those
anyway,
kind of things.
yeah, that was great. Thank you for that story as I was walking the dog. Yeah, I've always been a little different, a little silly. I call it silly, free, and definitely have my moments of conforming and doing what other people tell me to do. And now it's my turn to allow my mother, I mean, she can do what she wants to do, it's her house anyway, to be silly, not wear a bra, not comb her hair, um, um, take her clothes off partially or whatever. And for me to be okay with that. It's up to me. That's my choice to be okay with it. And so, yeah, freedom is, people say freedom isn't free. Well, freedom is as free as you want it to be. So, yeah, I thank you for helping to give me permission. I have those images in my mind of the bird and the dancing on the floor and the audience and everything. So, yeah, stories are really powerful. So thank you, Cody. That was
You're awesome, Omeka. Thank you. And I know for Joey, this is like midnight or something. So I'll give Joey and then Loveland, I think is the last one. Go ahead, Joey.
All right. Hi. Thanks for sharing, and I loved it actually. No one has just one persona. I'm a mom, a wife, a career woman, a daughter, manager, mentee, mentor to others. And as such, we need to behave accordingly. The authenticity lies on our values, because in each persona, our true character will always show up. The real personality will always surface. So yes, we shouldn't mind other people's judgment that much, as long as we're being really our authentic selves, right? But in doing so, we should also be mindful that we're all different, and we should be sensitive as well to others people's beliefs and practices. And again, it's case to case basis. Personally, my standard that is always that this is my own journey. If others aren't ready to accept who I am, then so be it. But I have this personal mantra, but it's better stated in Filipino. I always say, hindi ako mabait, pero mabuti akong tao. I mean, I'm not meek and kind, but I'm a good person. You know what I mean? It means I'm a good person, but when I see injustices, I won't stay quiet, and I'd really fight for what's right. Something like that. So again, I always just remember LOA, or law of attraction. So if something doesn't give me a good feeling, I pause and do some self-introspection, and I ask, again, this is my journey. I have to always feel the joy, the peace, and the happiness. And it's always good if you're just being your authentic self and you're not encroaching on other people's rights. You know that you're doing good, then just keep doing that. All right, thanks.
Love it. I love it.
Thank you, Joey. Yeah, you always have this wisdom in you. It's a balancing act, isn't it? Loveland, you're the last one, and then I'm going to give it back to Cody to close this up. So go ahead, Loveland.
Thank you so much, Cody, for this topic. It took me such a long time to get here as well, because I used to live a cosmetic life for so many years until I actually discovered who I am. And that was the starting point of my freedom. Because when you accept yourself that this is who I am, it comes as a package: freedom, joy, peace, everything that you can think of. Being able to do whatever you want without looking on your shoulders, who's watching, how am I going to be judged, and all these things. That is when you live your life to your fullest potential. So it is a great topic. It's a good reminder. There are so many people that don't know who they are out there, and they are hiding behind the shadows because they need acceptance. But from the time I gave myself permission and actually approved myself, that is when I got freedom to live who I'm supposed to be. So I am a fan of the life that I'm living. That is how I can say it. I just love who I am, and this is who I am. What you see is what you get. Basically, that is what I mean. So I'm a fan of who I am, and it just stems from the time when I said, this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to live my life. Regardless of whether I'm accepted or not, I've already approved and accepted myself, and that is what is important. Thank you so much.
It's so awesome, Loveland. It starts with self-love, isn't it? Darla would agree with that. It's about the accepting ourselves. I love that. It's been such a great conversation, you all. Everybody contributed. I mean, all of you, everything you said resonated with me. But thank you so much. And Cody, what an amazing topic. I'm going to give the floor, the last word to you to close this out.
Let's see. One of my favorite little quotes that I do is I know, I am, and be. So let's move from I know to I am, which is the practice of, to just be. And just be. And we can all be us
Cody.
together.
Thank you so much. Next week, Andrew will be talking about money consciousness. So hopefully all of you can come back here again. Amazing topic. But Cody, such an amazing topic that resonates with everyone here. So really appreciate you. So grateful for all of you for your participation. And we'll see you next week. So have a great week, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.